Hello again, saints of God. Going forward now into the resurrected head beast chapter 8 of the book There Is No. We'll talk about Revelation chapter 13, verses 1 through 8. Verse 1, chapter 13, And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Verse 3, And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. This beast coming up out of the sea, which again points to the unconverted masses, which places the origination of this beast in the category of the first 3 beasts that rose up out of the sea in Daniel, as there was no born-again people upon the earth at the point of its origination. This beast has many of the same properties as the great red dragon of Revelation chapter 12, 7 heads and 10 horns. Furthermore, we see the kingdom of Babylon, lion, Medo-Persia, bear, and Grecia, leopard, in this beast, assuring us that we are still dealing with the same geographical location. Therefore, we can determine by these elements that this most certainly is the 4th beast kingdom, Rome, of Daniel, just as the great red dragon was, but some properties have changed. He is no longer called a dragon, but is once again referred to as a beast, thereby demonstrating that he has lost his keen vision. This is further understood as we observe that the crowns are no longer upon the 7 heads, but are on the 10 horns, denoting a changed position of power. Here, for a brief glimpse, we see the 10 toes, horns, Rome phase 2 kingdom of Daniel portrayed in ascendancy. Upon his horns 10 crowns. In verse 2 we read, And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. The dragon, Satan, effected these things through the death throes of Rome phase 1. This began to be accomplished when the red dragon's, Rome phase 1 seat of government was moved from Rome, seat of the 4th beast kingdom, to Constantinople in AD 330. It continues in AD 476 with the removal of Romulus Augustulus from Rome by Odoacer, a ruler of one of the 10 horns, which placed the 10 toes, horns, Rome phase 2 beast kingdom in the seat, Rome. The next important event takes place in AD 533 as Justinian, emperor of the Byzantine, Rome phase 1 empire, declares the Pope head of all churches, great authority. Finally, it culminates in AD 538 with the placing of the abomination of desolation, the papacy. This was effected as Justinian used his military might, gave him, papacy, his power, to remove the last Arian king, Horn, Theodoric, from the city of Rome, thereby giving the Pope the seat of the 4th beast kingdom, gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Before we proceed, we want to emphasize the fact that what John first saw in verses 1 and 2 is a picture of the kingdom of the 10 toes horns. These are the 10 horns that were in an extension of his, the 4th beast head of Daniel 7:20. This picture is Rome phase 2, also known as the 10 toes horn phase of the 4th beast kingdom, also known as the daily, continual, perpetual, desolating power 2, also known as the beast that you saw was and is not, of Revelation 17, verse 8 and verse 11. And we point out in verse 1 we read, and upon his heads, plural, the name of blasphemy. This one's every word and action is daily, continually, perpetually disrespectful of God. We will bring verse 3 back in and read it along with verse 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of Revelation chapter 13. Verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Verse 4, and they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Verse 5, and there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. Verse 6, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. Verse 7, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given unto him over all kindreds and tongues and nations, tribes. Verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Here we have brought into view some sort of power or beast, kingdom, that is distinct from, yet inclusive of, the is not Rome phase 2 beast kingdom we've just observed. In verse 3, we have a head that was wounded, literally butchered, maimed to death, and his deadly wound was healed. Let us understand that when you butcher an animal, beast, you take it apart by division and separation. Also, this head was not butchered as John watched. This head was dead when the beast that is not came up out of the sea, and then the head came to life as John watched. The literal translation is, I saw one of the heads of it as having been, past tense, butchered, maimed to death. In the prophecies that we are examining here in Revelation chapters 12, 13, and 17, what beast kingdom was most recently butchered to death? The great red dragon, Rome phase 1 of the beautiful woman chapter, Revelation 12, of course, as it was butchered, divided, fragmented into the 10 toes, horns, beast kingdom. In verse 3 we also see, and his deadly wound was healed. What do we have here? We have a word picture of a kingdom that was under one rule, red dragon, Rome phase 1, then wounded, butchered to death, fragmented into the 10 toes, horns, Rome phase 2 kingdom, and is now again under one rule, little horn, man of sin, harlot, Rome phase 3 kingdom. Does this picture line up with the fourth beast kingdom of Daniel? Yes, a fourth beast. It was diverse, different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Daniel, considered sometimes lapsing the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. We saw that in our discussion of the night vision in Daniel chapter 7, verse 7, 8, 19, 20, 23, and 24. The Lord never at any time declares these 3 manifestations to be anything other than the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, Daniel 7:23. Let us look at some further points that confirm that the beast, who is now ruled by the one resurrected head, and the little horn of Daniel are one and the same. Number 1, a mouth speaking great things, Revelation 13:5, and Daniel 7, verse 8, 20, and 25. Number 2, opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, Revelation 13:6, and Daniel 7:25. 3. It was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. Revelation 13:7 and Daniel 7:21 and 25. 4. Power was given him to continue 42 months. Revelation 13:5 and Daniel 7:25. Continue how long? For a period of 1,260 years. Here we see phase 3 of the fourth beast kingdom, also known as Papal Rome, also known as the Holy Roman Empire, also known as the transgression of desolation, Daniel 8:13, also known as the abomination that makes desolate, Daniel 12:11, Matthew 24:15, and Mark 13:14, also known as that man of sin, 2 Thessalonians 2:3-12, also known as the resurrected head beast, Revelation 13:3, also known as the great harlot, Revelation 17:1, also known as Babylon the Great, Revelation 17:5, and also known as the beast that was and is not and yet is, Revelation 17:8d, and also known as the woman which you saw is that great city which reigns over the kingdoms of the earthy, in Revelation 17:18. If you remember, we observed in Revelation 12:17 that the devil went out to make war with the remnant of her seed. Here in Revelation 13:7 we see that it was given unto him, the resurrected head beast, to make war with the saints' seed, given to him by whom? By the devil? No, not ultimately. We recognize that the devil set out to make war with the saints, and of course, as he was allowed to give power unto the beast, he thought he was the prime mover in the scene which we have before us, just as he thought he was the prime mover when he set up the crucifixion of the Lord. But as it was written concerning the crucifixion, so also it was written concerning the events which we now have before us, for it is God who works all things after the counsel of his own will, Ephesians 1:11, as we came to understand in our discussion of the night vision. The Lord makes one further picture of this entity which allows us to see it clearly in its entirety and will bring us to a complete understanding of this beast's personality. As we have stated before, this one is also known as Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, Revelation 17:5. We will therefore proceed on into Revelation chapter 17, which is in chapter 9 of the book There Is No, entitled The Great Harlot, and examine this final word picture of the fourth beast kingdom of Daniel. Then, by the grace of God, we will be ready to return to Daniel chapter 11, being prepared to see the transformation that takes place. One further word here we read in Revelation 13, verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life. The distinction between names written in the book of life and being in the book of life are two entirely different things. In this ecumenical system, we have not heard this, neither have we been taught this, for the darkness is great. Children of God, I say it again, from the top to the bottom, from the left to the right, it is in grievous error. It is Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, who are also abominations of the earthy. The book, the revelation of Jesus Christ, covers every jot and every tittle of every verse in the entire book of Revelation and is not like anything that you have ever heard or read before. This is the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight his paths. Amen.